Welcome to the Daily Octane. Today is Friday, April 25th. My name is Christopher Hess. We have a few different things to talk about today. I know yesterday's video, I discussed I wanted to do shorter videos. I don't think this is going to be one of those shorter ones. We have a few pieces of breaking news today and some things that I want to talk about. All of them kind of surround immigration and the Trump administration's attempt to remove undocumented, quote unquote, illegals and others from our nation. So the gist of it is that, the Trump campaign during the 2024 election cycle, they ran on the idea of removing illegal immigrants, those that have come over the borders illegally, and getting them out of the country. Okay, now, immigration is a tough discussion. We're going to talk about the idea of immigration a little bit more near the end of this video, but the gist of it real quick is that it was a hotbed issue for Americans across the country. The idea that they're taking jobs, that they're coming over here as criminals, that they're kidnapping, American women and selling them into sex slavery and stuff like that. So it was a hotbed issue, and again, we're going to get to it in a second, but fast forward to today. And over the course of the last several weeks, the first 100 days of the Trump administration, we have heard countless stories about people that are being taken off the streets, lied to, and saying that they're being invited into immigration offices in order to move forward with their naturalization, and then being arrested and as undocumented and then exported out of the country. During this period of time, we started out with essentially what was a concentration camp on Guantanamo Bay in Cuba, where there was a military installation. They had set up a tent village there where they were housing people. Then they started deporting people to Venezuela. Then we had the agreement with El Salvador, in which we were using their big super maximum security prison to house gang members. But we had, unlawful arrests of a father from Maryland who was actually doing the right things to be here legally, but they still took him away. He is not, and has never been, as far as any proof has been shown, to be a member of any gang, including MS-13 or others. Then there was another gentleman who was a barber, as it turns out, not that it matters, but a gay man who clearly is not in any kind of gang whatsoever. He was also sent off to El Salvador. And those are just the stories that have made the news. There's hundreds others. Now, with that said, there's also the reality that there are people that are here illegally that are dangerous people. There are people that are natural born citizens of the United States that are dangerous people, kind of like the January 6th rioters, but we'll leave that for another time. We'll table that for now. What happened today is that there was a judge, or is a judge, whose name is Hannah Dugan. And Hannah is a judge in Wisconsin. She is a local judge, and she was arrested today by the FBI for obstruction of justice, essentially, in limiting or obstructing the FBI and ICE from making an arrest of a person that was here illegally. That person was to appear in her court for a minor infraction. I don't actually have the details on that. I've not dug that far into that yet. That's not the important part of the story. But the FBI came in at 8 o'clock this morning and arrested her because, according to Kash Patel, and a statement that he put out on, I believe it was on X and then later deleted it, this judge, Hannah Dugan, this judge had essentially warned the person that was here illegally that ICE was coming to the court that day in order to detain them. And so they ran and they arrested her for it. Now, we're going to get into the ethics of that later, but it's an important point. I don't care if you're a Democrat. I don't care if you're a Republican. I don't care if you're an independent. I don't care what your party affiliation is. When judges start getting arrested, we have a problem. There is a process for this, and this is not the process. Let me bring up the whiteboard real quick. So, actually, first, here's the article. We'll talk about this. This is in the New York Times. So the FBI arrested a Wisconsin judge accusing her of helping an immigrant evade federal agents. So I encourage you, if you have access to the New York Times, go read this. There's quite a bit here. Essentially, the FBI director said that she was intentionally misdirecting federal agents to find this person. So again, the legalities of that are going to play out in a little bit later. But for now, what I want to show you is this. This is a quote from Donald Trump. I expect the legal profession to understand that the nation is not here for them, but they are here for the nation. From now on, I shall intervene in these cases and remove from office those judges who evidently do not understand the demand of the hour. Now, I lied. That's actually not from Donald Trump. That is a quote from Adolf Hitler. In 1930s Germany, Adolf Hitler was also detaining and removing judges for not following what he thought was the right thing to do. And this is a huge, huge problem. We're going to get to this more in just a second. The other thing that I want to talk about is that in addition to random people that are here undocumented, whether they cross the Canadian border or the Mexican border, came over on a boat from Cuba, wherever it is that they came from. In addition to that, we have seen a rash of revocation of student visas and work visas across the country. Generally students from specific parts of the world. However, it's not limited to any one country or any one region of the world. It's kind of across the board, seemingly without any kind of like filter. Now, there was a discussion for a while coming out of the Trump administration that a lot of these revocations of visas were due to what they deemed to be activity that was not appropriate for people that were here on a visa. So the big example that they've given several times were those people that were participating in protests on campus. All right. I am a student at Syracuse University. My wife works at Syracuse University. And just the other day, the news came out here locally that 3 students that were here on student visas had their visas revoked. The semester's not even over. 2 of the 3 were actually set to graduate in May, and a statement from the school said that regardless of what happens over the next few days, that they will still be able to graduate and receive their diplomas for their time here at Syracuse University. The 3rd is not graduating yet, and the university has been working with that student to try to figure out what the next course of action is for them to get their education. Then the news came today. Like I said, it's been for a Friday, man. It's quite a breaking day of news. The news came out today that and actually, let me go ahead and bring this back up again. Not the whiteboard, but this. The article is the Trump administration reverses itself on the visa cancellation of foreign students. So, according to this official right here, Joseph, I believe that's Carilli, essentially said that there's about 1,500 visas that are being essentially reinstated at this point in time. The other thing, I do have a quote here from him. The quote is, let me just bring this up real quick if I can. For some reason, it's not communicating with me right now. There we go. Hold on. I'm having technical difficulties. Stand by. There we go. All right. So he said that immigration officials have begun work on a new system for reviewing and terminating visas for international students, and that until the process was complete, agencies would not make additional changes or further revocations. Okay. That's a good thing. But I'm going to tell you a little something else here. When that news popped that those visas have been revoked from the students here in Syracuse, let me see if I can find the article here. Yeah, so this image right here, this was a spontaneous protest that was led by some professors on the campus, as well as some student union organizations. And about 400 people showed up on a whim, mostly students. There were some people from the surrounding neighborhoods in the community as well, but it was mostly students and professors that came out and were actively protesting the decision of the Trump administration to revoke the visas of these 3 students. So what I will say to you in this video today, and this is the point that I want to make. The protests are working. This is how we're going to stop the Trump administration and their attempt to work outside of the Constitution, which is essentially what they're doing. Now, the concept of executive order has purpose. It has merit. There are times in which that is needed. But the manner in which Donald Trump is just pushing out executive order after executive order after executive order, overreaching the power of Congress, overreaching the judiciary, overreaching preordained spending at the congressional level, affecting essentially what is State Department mandate, removing bureaucracies, firing people from jobs in different administration roles, all of this stuff, which is beyond the pale. It is absolutely illegal. It is outside of the Constitution. It is why the Trump administration has lost every Supreme Court decision, every district court decision, and every appeals court decision up until this point. They are essentially batting zero when it comes to defending their executive orders across the board. So what I would say to you is, if you are somebody that is watching this video because you are frustrated, or you are scared, or you are unsure what we do next to get out from under this tyrannical attempt at authoritarian control, I would say protest. Get out on the streets, in your community, wherever you are. Watch the social media spaces. Watch the activism spaces. Find your local indivisible group, your local solidarity groups. Any kind of Democratic politicians will often share these things, and go out and join them. The more people that stand on street corners or on college campuses or in front of governmental buildings, federal, state, and otherwise, the more we show this Trump administration that we have had enough, the more likely they are to change course, to change what they think they're doing, and realizing that, he's not popular. Among his most fervent voters, the 25 to 30% of Americans that voted for him passionately, the people that are flying the flags, still have political signs in their yards, those people, we're not going to sway them. They think what he's doing right now is great. And I will say, while not all of them, a good chunk of them are racist. A good chunk of them are xenophobic. A good chunk of them just hate anything that's not white middle class. And that leads me to the other piece of this that I wanted to talk about in the time that I have left in this video today. Immigration. And these are just my ideas. This is not anything that's, legal precedent or Democratic policy or Republican policy. It's just kind of what I've gleaned from my time in adulthood and the years that I've been voting, and how I feel about that process. Now, we all grew up in school learning how America was the melting pot of the world, that we welcomed immigrants from all over, all walks of life, any creed, any gender, any religion. America was always the land of opportunity and the land where people would come seeking a better life for their children, for themselves, whether they're escaping tyranny in their own countries or crime, whether they're escaping areas in which, young girls are mutilated sexually or sold into slavery, or areas that are war-torn in which young men get conscripted, against their will to fight for their nation in what are often unjust reasons. And they come here for a better life. And we've been selling that idea for generations now. We've been selling the idea that America is the land of the free and the home of the brave. Movies are made, television shows are made that are seen all over the world, showing our prosperity, how great it is to be here. And we're reneging on that promise to the world. Now, the easy thing to happen here is for any Republican, conservative, or even some Democrats to say, yeah, but that doesn't mean they should come here illegally. And they shouldn't. I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you at all. But I will say that there are people that come here out of fear for their lives. Imagine if you were afraid for your children. Imagine if something happened here. Let's talk about just an example. And this is kind of it's not a one-to-one, but it's an idea. Let's say, for example, that Yellowstone, the national park that's mostly Wyoming, Utah, that area. Let's say that Yellowstone exploded, because in case you didn't know, there's a giant caldera underneath Yellowstone. It is a active volcano. It has erupted a number of times over the centuries. And the idea is that if it erupts, it's going to essentially destroy more than half of the continental United States and make the rest of it essentially unlivable. Let's say Yellowstone erupts and you're over here on the East Coast like I am. And so the initial blast doesn't wipe you out. The magma flow doesn't take you out. Even the pyroclastic flow, which can travel much further with superheated gases and stone and ash and all that kind of stuff, that doesn't get you right away. But you know that it's all been thrown up in the atmosphere. Meteorologists warn you, politicians warn you, the news is talking about it nonstop, that in the coming days, that ash is going to start settling all over the continental United States, and it's going to make it unlivable here. And so you have the opportunity to board a cruise ship, but then sneak off into England or France, or maybe you're going to sail down to the Caribbean and get away from it all. But other countries, recognizing that, you know, tens of thousands, if not millions of Americans are going to try to flee, have decided to shut down their borders. But if you can't get onto the land of another country, you are going to die. Your children are going to die. You're going to starve. There's not any food available. There's no fresh water available because all the fresh water beds are now inundated with ash. What would you do? Would you ignore the sovereign laws of the country you're trying to get into in order to save the lives of your children and your loved ones? You know, I know it's hard when we live in this picket fence world of middle-class America. It's hard to imagine the strain and the stress that people across South America, Cuba, Central America even, the strain and the stress on their daily lives in fear of cartels, sex trade, sex trafficking, and the such, that prompts them to come to this country knowing full well that we have thousands and thousands of jobs available for them. But they don't. The pathway to legal citizenship has been deterred so badly over the last several decades that it's become next to impossible. And a lot of this stinks. It stinks of World War II. It stinks of pre-World War II. I mean, where the Jewish citizens in Germany were trying to escape to other countries, and very shortly into that process, nations across the world just stopped letting them in. They just stopped letting them in and left them there, stuck in Nazi Germany, to the point where Adolf Hitler got so tired of not being able to export Jews out of his country that he started housing them in concentration camps and murdering them en masse. Now, prior to that, he was offering a pathway for them to leave voluntarily, often paying them to leave, putting them on trains and shipping them out of Germany. We're in that phase right now here in the United States where Donald Trump is pushing them out. Difference is he's putting them on planes instead of trains. But he's putting them in a jail in El Salvador, a very serious jail in which nobody ever leaves. There's no rehabilitation program. There's no education. There's no opportunities. You go there and you stay there until you die. And that's what he's doing. And now the judges and the courts across the United States are telling him he has to stop, that he can't do that anymore. And I'm not saying that Donald Trump is Adolf Hitler. I think that rhetoric, I think, gets out of hand. It's vitriol. It's meant to instill a certain type of hatred and fear and anxiety and angst. And I don't want to do that. But the parallels, the similarities are striking, and it's hard to parse it out and say, no, this is different, because I don't see how it is. And now he's arresting judges who are aiding and abetting people in this country, whether they are here illegally or not, people in this country that are afraid of being sent to a gulag in El Salvador where they will live out the rest of their lives in fear. And so this I would say patriot in Wisconsin is now in FBI custody in federal jail. It is depressing. Now, the last thing I want to talk about real quick is the right. Conservatives in America, people that probably voted for Donald Trump, but maybe they're seeing some of what's happening right now and they're taking pause. I understand where you're coming from regarding illegal immigration. I do not want additional criminals. I definitely don't want sex trafficking. I don't think any liberal, progressive member, politically active person in this country who is fighting for the rights of these detainees, I don't think any of us want illegal immigration any more than you do. It is like the easiest agreement to come to, I don't think we should have purely open borders. I don't know of any Democrats that do. I mean, I'm sure they're out there. I mean, there's radicals and fringe people and both political spectrums, but I don't want people jumping over the walls in Texas. I don't want people swimming around the border walls in outside of Tijuana in California. I don't want people coming over here on a visit and then staying indefinitely. I don't want people that are not citizens of this country or naturalized or here on green cards. Those people are great, but the people that aren't, I don't want them collecting Social Security or welfare. But if somebody comes here in fear of their life and they ask for asylum, and then they are detained at the border and then put into a community in which they can be monitored and given access to certain aids in order to help them establish themselves and work toward a path to naturalization, we should not be shitting on those people. We should not be rounding them up unceremoniously, throwing them on dark planes with no windows, putting them in a detention center, either in Louisiana or Texas or in Maryland, and then shipping them off to El Salvador. It's not only wrong, it's inhumane. And to do it under the guise of some archaic wartime principle, and then try to pretend like these are terrorists. Of the thousands of people the Trump administration has detained, I mean, I have no idea what the percentage are that are actually criminals, but I know it's not high. And if they are criminals, they're not violent criminals. Some of them are. I'm not saying none of them are, but I mean, the problem is, and this is where those of us on the left are so passionate, and I think a lot of people on the right are confused about, is that we're not saying that criminals shouldn't be removed from the country. I have no problem with that. What we're saying is that these criminals, before being put on these dark planes and shipped to El Salvador, they should have access to due process. And I don't know if most of you even know what due process is. Due process simply means that you have the right to be put in front of a judge, and that judge to then decide, based on the merits of the state's case against you or the nation's case against you, that judge gets to decide, yes, you should go, or no, you get to stay. So the argument from the right, those that are supporting what Donald Trump is doing, is that they don't need due process. They're not citizens. They don't have a right to that. Okay, that's your thinking. You're wrong, even though that's your thinking. The reality is our Constitution does not say that citizens have a right to due process. In the Constitution, and I'm paraphrasing here, it's not the exact quote, but the Constitution says that people in this country have a right to due process. That includes foreign citizens. So if somebody's here visiting Disney World and they get arrested for petty larceny, they're still entitled to due process. The same occurs for somebody that may have come over here from Guatemala who's working in a cornfield in Iowa and then gets picked up by an ICE agent. That person should not be unilaterally put on a plane and shipped off to El Salvador. They should have their time in front of a judge. Now, your argument on the right being, well, no, they're here illegally. I don't care. Put them on a plane. Okay, well, what if you know somebody named, I don't know, Juan Sanchez? Okay, actually, I served with a guy named Juan Sanchez. He was in the Marine Corps. He was a petty officer. Warrant officer. Fantastic human being. Fantastic. He was actually, he was my racquetball partner. We won an island championship in Okinawa back in like 1995. Awesome dude. He's since passed away. I feel terrible for him. But he was an American citizen. He was born in the United States. His parents were American citizens. I think he was like third or fourth generation American. Okay. But what stops if he was not in the Marine Corps with me and say he worked at, a Best Buy. Say there's a guy named Juan Sanchez working at Best Buy, American citizen, parents were American citizens. He was born here. And then an ICE agent sees him walking to his car. Maybe inside of his car, he's got a Dominican Republic flag, or maybe not Dominican, maybe he's got a Cuban flag. Maybe there's a Cuban flag flying inside of his car. Maybe he's got some tattoos. I mean, I'm covered in tattoos. I'm certainly not MS-13. But let's say Juan Sanchez walking out of Best Buy, getting into his car with his Cuban flag flying in the window. An ICE agent sees him and says, I'm going to hit my quote. I'm going to grab this guy. So he grabs him and he says, you're being detained by ICE on suspicion of being here illegally. And Juan says, I'm an American citizen. No accent. I'm an American citizen. Guy's like, where's your passport? I don't have a passport. I've never left the country. Well, where's your immigration documentation? I don't have any. I'm an American citizen. And the ICE agent doesn't like it. Handcuffs him, puts him in a car, tinted windows, drives him to a facility, goes into a garage door, no outdoor windows. He gets processed, put into a detainment cell with 30 other guys. Later that night, he's taken out of that detainment cell, put on a plane with no windows, flown to Maryland. No idea where he is, though, because he has no windows. He's there in Maryland in a facility with no windows for like 24 hours. Then he's marched out, put on another plane, and flown to El Salvador. Nobody knows where he is. Nobody knows what happened to him. Only thing that happens is somebody inside Best Buy goes, oh my God, I think Juan got arrested when he went to his car. Do you see the problem here? Do you see the problem? If you think what Donald Trump is doing to these people is right, that could happen to you. Oh, it won't happen to me. I got an English name. I got a French name. I'm a white person. Okay, yeah, right now. Right now. I'm sorry to tell a lot of you, and this is where the racist really comes out. I'm sorry to tell a lot of you, but America is not the land of white Europeans. It never has been. So we have a very large immigrant population in this country, and they're not all of them are here illegally. And many of them are second and third generation, and they are naturally born citizens. And we've had a couple of them. There's been several cases, prominent cases, of American citizens being detained by ICE. To date, they've all been released. But it's still happening. And it really, really shouldn't be. So I understand that it's a hotbed topic. I understand that it's very easy for somebody in central New York, for example, somebody that lives near farmland in central New York, and occasionally they'll see a minivan pull up to Walmart and 5 or 6 very clearly Latin, maybe South American men get out, brown skin. Most of them aren't speaking English. And they go in there and they buy some stuff and some food in Walmart or, coat or, whatever the case may be. And it's common. It's common and sad that the average American in that situation in rural America would be afraid of them. Confused why they're here. This sense that they don't belong. I tend to defend racism in a singular regard, that xenophobic regard. Because at the end of the day, xenophobia is not necessarily a product of upbringing or experience, but rather it is a evolutionary trait that we honed on, millennia ago in order to protect us from foreign invaders, from other creatures. We taught ourselves, the human species taught ourselves to be afraid of others. In a time where Homo erectus and Homo sapien and Neanderthal were all competing for the same land. And if you weren't afraid of somebody that was a little bit different than you could very easily be killed. And we have not deprogrammed that very effectively. And I don't know if it's going to happen now. I don't know if it's actually going to happen anytime in the near future. But unfortunately, this is a big aspect of why this form of racism here in the United States is still so prevalent. It's just fear. It's fear, a lack of understanding, a lack of experience, an unworldliness. And there's plenty of anecdotal evidence out there that a very large percentage of Americans never travel more than 50 miles away from their home. And they never live anywhere other than the town that they grew up in. I mean, I've lived all over the world. I've served in the military for 4 years, active duty. I stayed in Southern California for several years after I got out. I've left New York and come back twice. I love this area. I love the United States. I mean, I chose to serve my country because I love what we stand for. I love the meaning behind the Constitution and all of the founding fathers and their idea of what a federalist democracy should look like. And Donald Trump is burning it down right now. I don't care if you voted for him, but at some point along the way here, there needs to come a tipping point, a point in which some of the 70 million Americans that voted for him realize that what he is doing is at its core un-American. It is not what we stand for. It is not what our founding fathers envisioned for us when they started this great experiment many hundreds of years ago. And I'm sick and tired of it. And I hope you are too. And as I said before, if you are and you are ready to do something about it, keep an eye out in your social media spaces for upcoming events. I know here in Syracuse, we have a large protest planned. It is downtown Syracuse. It's going to be on May 1st. And I'm sure that these type of hands-off protests will be happening all over the country on May 1st. So keep an eye out in the social media spaces. Do me a favor. If you liked what I had to say today, or even if you didn't, and you just want to, bash me, go down in the comments section. Let me know what you think. I really do honestly want all the opinions. I would like to know, if you're a Trump voter, why you're still supporting him. I mean it. Go down there and let me know. If you were one, if you voted for Trump and you're like, now you're just like ashamed of what's happening right now in our country, let me know about that too. But either way, can you subscribe? I'm growing this. I just crossed 400 subscribers. I know that's a small number in comparison to a lot of the people that are out there doing this full time. I can't. I own a business. I can't do this full time, but I'm taking a little bit of time each day to come in here and make these videos. This one's already over 30 minutes. Yay me. But yeah, if you could like this video, share it with your friends, share it on social media. I'd like to build an audience. I'm working toward it. We need progressive liberal voices in this space, in the podcasting space, which I'm starting this weekend. I've mentioned this a couple times. It's going to be called the Christopher Hess Podcast. I'm going to film, or record, I should say, a couple of episodes tomorrow. Hopefully get them posted sometime midweek onto Spotify, iTunes, wherever else you get your podcasts. I may do a video version on here as well. It won't be on this channel, but when I do, by next time I do a Daily Octane video, I'll post that. So again, if you could subscribe to the channel and share this on social media, I would appreciate it. And I hope you enjoyed what I had to say today. Hopefully I said something that resonated with you and maybe helped you understand a little bit more of what's going on in the world today. Regardless, be safe, care for your loved ones, find a protest, go get involved. We all need to be out there. And thank you again for watching the Daily Octane. I'm Christopher Hess. Have a great day.